but there's also a requirement for less corrupt, more participatory government, better job opportunities. So it's bringing all of those efforts into alignment for better impact and ultimately better results.
Okay, so you said the military solution alone will not solve the problem. Let's look at Benue State and all of the killings going on there. What exactly do you think could solve the problems there?
So I've been watching with great concern what happened in Benue State just over this last week, and clearly people are calling for improved security, which is, citizen security is so important, and what people most keenly feel is necessary immediately. But there also has to be a look at the justice system, how to ensure that there's the kind of justice that instills citizen confidence in the state. And there are longer-term issues here, that some of which address the herder-farmer conflict and the need for looking at how to enable the herders to have grazing opportunities that don't infringe upon the farmers, how to address the many farmers who have been displaced. We met a whole community up in Adamawa State who were displaced and being asked to move with no place to go. So those needs are important. And longer term, there are environmental and demographic factors that are exacerbating these conflicts. So there's the immediate security, but it has to be tied to policies and reforms that enable the solution to be more enduring so that the conflict just doesn't reoccur.
Okay, earlier in our first segment, we were talking about insecurity in some parts of Nigeria, and one of the guests, the security experts, mentioned something around citizens' participation in keeping the peace. Tell us how we can achieve this.
Sure, and as Oge was saying, citizen participation is absolutely critical, because when citizens distrust the police, then they will work against the police, and there won't be the opportunity for information to be shared, for there to be more collaborative action. And in fact, in the case of Jos State, the youth had such distrust that they burned the police station down. This is, ultimately people need to believe that the police are there working for their benefit, that the goal of a well-run police station is to serve their people, to serve the community. And so this is critical as the first line. One of the issues that we've seen is there is a fragmentation in the security services, and there aren't enough police, so that often vigilante groups or military are called upon to provide security. So that fragmentation can also work against a more unified response and enabling a community-based approach.
You mentioned that you came across some herders, I think, in Adamawa. Were you able to ascertain whether they were Nigerians or not? And I asked this in light of the fact that the president did make a comment that most of these marauders, well, I beg your pardon, these herders are not Nigerians. They're people infiltrating from other countries around Nigeria.
We didn't meet with any herders where I would say they were, the herders we did meet with were clearly from the community, and we met them with their fellow community members who were farmers. And in fact, they talked about how they used to have mechanisms to resolve disputes that have been overrun by criminal elements, people who come into their community armed with weapons. There's an issue of an increased number of small arms. Where they're from, I can't ascertain. Okay. But there is definitely a criminality effort that has exacerbated what have been long-term tensions between herders and farmers, but they've had better traditional level mechanisms for addressing those tensions. Okay. And this comes back to the justice system, both security and justice, to deal with outsiders who may be coming in and overwhelming local responses.
Okay. What was the relationship like between the herders and the farmers, the ones that you met?
Well, in the meetings that we had, it was there was a cordial relationship, and the discussions went very well. And I think it really showed us that at that community level, there are ways that that citizens can come together and resolve these issues, that there are traditional mechanisms in place that enable people to really identify what the problems are and try to resolve them. So this was a meeting where we had herders who were representing the Fulani group and farmers from the community as well. And we had an informal, a very, very cordial discussion. And this is, you know, with that engagement from the bottom leading up to the top, that's the type of engagement that we will want to see, an engagement that we've seen through our justice, security, and dialogue initiatives, through the work when we engage with our facilitators, and through some of the research as well that we've done at the community level. One specific research, one of USIP's, one angle of our work here in Nigeria is research and trying to turn that research into practice. And we conducted some research across northeastern Nigeria, specifically looking at community resilience. And we saw that communities that had mechanisms in place to ward off different types of attacks or different challenges were able to sustain different impacts or withstand different impacts from Boko Haram or farmer-herder conflicts or different types of issues that may infringe upon their communities. So there are these traditional mechanisms that exist at the community level. And it's also important to learn from them, to listen to the people at these levels too as well, because they have the solutions to these issues. We always say that to resolve the problems in Nigeria, it can't come from the outside. And to resolve the issues at the community level, it can't come from outside the community level. These solutions have to be homegrown. And so we have to think about how we can work with the communities, with the different local actors to identify the right strategies to address them. Because only when we do that will these solutions become sustainable.
Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We've been having a chat with the Senior Program Officer, Africa Program, USIP, Oge Onubogu, and the President, United States Institute of Peace, Nancy Lindborg. Thank you both for coming on. And we wish you all the best. So we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, Janet will be in the house.